Hi everyone. Today I'm going to explain how to use the editor of my animation maker project. So first of all, you should know that the use of the editor may seem a bit complicated at first, but don't worry, as you use it, it becomes quite intuitive. So I advise you to follow this tutorial at least once in order so that you don't get lost. Also, to understand more easily what is explained, I advise you to open the project in another tab and to test at each step what is explained in this tutorial. First of all, you should know that there are several areas in this project. So the first area is called the main menu, and it appears automatically when you click on the green flag. It allows you to choose between viewing the animation or editing it. If you click on play or on the thumbnail, you arrive in the second area, which is the main player of the animation. With this player you can watch the animation, of course, with the sound, and you can see where you are in the animation thanks to the slider that appears when you move the mouse. On the other hand, in the main player you cannot skip to another part of the animation with the progress bar because it is not compatible with sound management in Scratch projects. So to exit the player you can wait for the end of the animation, or you can click on the quit button that appears on the top right of the screen when you move the mouse, or you can also quit the player by pressing the Q key. Finally, when you click on the edit button of the main menu, you arrive in the editor, which is itself divided into three parts. The central screen is called current scene, and by moving the mouse to the left border of the scene, you arrive in the node menu. You can leave this menu by moving your mouse to the right. The third part of the editor is the time menu. You can access it by moving your mouse to the top border of the screen of the current scene, and to exit it, move your mouse down. From the time menu, you can click on the home button to return to the main menu. To start a new animation, open the node menu, then click on the Go to Parent button until the button disappears. You may have to click several times. Once this is done, the word root should be displayed in red in the top left corner of the screen. Now, click on the Delete Now node button to delete the current animation and start a new one. Note, however, that the soundtrack that is played in the animation is not reset, and that you must manually change the sound called audio that is located in the pane sprite of the Scratch editor. You can remove the soundtrack by deleting the existing one or replacing it with your own. In the second case, you should rename your soundtrack audio so it can be read by the program. In case you have opened the Scratch editor to modify the sound, remember to go back to the normal page before putting the project in full screen again, otherwise the project could be very slow to run. Now I will first explain how to create drawings and texts and how to organize them, and then in the second step you will learn how to animate them. To create a simple drawing, go to the node menu and click on the Create Drawing button, which is green. A dialog box will appear. Enter the name you want to give to your drawing, and be careful, the name must be less than 13 characters long and must not have already been used for another node in the project. Once you have given the name, the appearance of the node menu changes. Sliders and buttons appear on the left side of the menu. These allow you to adjust the size, the color, the saturation, the brightness, and the transparency of the pen. At the bottom right of the menu, a colored circle appears on a black background. It's a preview of the pen appearance that helps you to make your adjustments. Once you have set your pen settings to your likings, you can exit the node menu and go to the current scene. Once you have done this, there are two ways to draw. The first way is to click, hold and drag the mouse to where you want to draw. This method allows you to create abstract shapes like curves, for example. However, it generates a lot of data to store and process, which makes the project slower to run and the animation less fluid. If possible, use the second way to draw. The second way requires you to hold down the space key while you draw. So, hold the space key pressed and then click once to place the first point. Then click again somewhere else to draw a straight line from the previous point to the new point. You can place multiple points in a row as long as you hold down the space key. Be careful not to hold down the mouse click when you move your mouse in this mode, or the data created will be as heavy as the first method. You can use the arrow up and arrow down keys to change the pen size directly from the current scenes without having to go back to the node menu. By clicking on the Z key, you can undo the last strokes you drew. Finally, to leave the drawing mode, go to the node menu and click on the edit button. When you do this, the edit button changes its appearance to the draw button. Clicking the draw button returns you to drawing mode, so you can continue the drawing you started. A slider called History allows you to select the colors you have already used previously. Below the slider, you can find the plus and minus buttons that allow you to navigate through the color history. The delete button next to it is used to remove colors from the history that you will not use again. The drawing you have just created is an object that we call node in the rest of this tutorial. There are three types of nodes in this project: drawings, text, and groups. Don't worry, we'll see later how to use the text and group nodes. Each node, regardless of its type, has its own parameters: an offset, a zoom, an angle, a color offset, and a visibility. These properties can be changed when the node is in edit mode. A node is in edit mode when in the current scene there is a blue dot at the intersection of the vertical blue line and the horizontal blue line. This blue point is very important because it represents the center of your node. In the rest of this tutorial, we'll call it the center blue point. Group nodes are always in edit mode. Text nodes are always in edit mode unless you are in the process of adding a new line to your text node. Finally, drawings nodes are only in edit mode if you are not in drawing mode. As a reminder, you can leave the drawing mode by clicking on the edit button of the nodes menu. The offset property defines the position of the node in the scene. So, when you go to the current scene, you can move the node by clicking and dragging the center blue dots. The arrow keys can also be used to move the current node. You can also reset the offset to the default value by clicking on the Reset Offset button in the node menu. The zoom property defines the size of the node in the scene. So you can increase or decrease the size of the node in the current scene by clicking somewhere other than the center blue dot, and then by moving your mouse closer or further away from the center blue dot, but while holding down the click. If you do the same thing while holding down the space key, you can change the proportion of the node by width and height. However, this feature doesn't work very well and isn't very useful unless you want to flip the node vertically or horizontally. You can also reset the zoom value to the default value by clicking on the Reset Zoom button in the node menu. The angle property allows you to rotate the node in the current scene. To do this, you must hold down the A key. At the same time, click somewhere other than the blue dot, and then rotate the cursor around the center blue dot while holding down the click. You can also reset the angle to its default value by clicking the Reset Angle button in the node menu. As you may have noticed, the zoom and angle are set related to the center blue point. When you draw, write text, or place an element somewhere in the scene, be aware that where it is located in relation to the central blue point will determine how it will be zoomed or rotated. The color, saturation, and luminosity sliders on the right side of the node menu allow you to adjust the color shift of the node. Finally, the Hide or Show button on the right side of the node menu lets you hide or show the node. Now that you know how to create simple drawings and edit node properties, you can learn how to create more complex drawings that include text, different planes, and articulations. To do this, you first need to understand how to arrange nodes in the node menu. As mentioned earlier, there are three types of nodes: the drawings, which we already know, and whose name appear in green at the top left of the screen, the text, which we'll explain later, and whose name appear in blue at the top left of the screen, and finally the groups, whose name appears in red on the top left of the screen. Groups are special nodes that have the ability to contain other nodes. They are a bit like folders on a computer that can hold files but also other folders. So they allow you to organize the nodes in your project in a clever way. When you created a new animation, a node called root was automatically created. This node will contain all the other nodes in your animation. Since for now you have just created a drawing node, you are currently in the node of that drawing. This can be verified by the fact that the name of the node you are in is always displayed at the top left of the screen. To access root, you must go to the node menu and then click on the Go to Parent button until root is marked at the top left of the screen. Once you've done this, the name of the drawing you made earlier should appear in the left side of the nodes menu. This area contains the list of the nodes contained in the current group. In this case, it's roots. So the fact that your drawing is listed here means that it is contained in the root group. By clicking on an item listed in the group, you can go inside the corresponding node. Then, to return to the parent group that contains the current node, simply click on the Go to Parent button. Only when you are in a group, you can create other nodes with the colored buttons at the bottom right of the node menu. Now you should try creating a second drawing node from the root and start drawing something on it. Once it's done, go into edit mode to move the drawing you just created. You may notice that it is in the foreground of the previous design. Then go back to Root and look at the node menu. You may notice that both of your drawings are now listed. Left to the list, there is also an arrow that is displayed that goes from the word background to the word foreground. This tells in which rendering layer the nodes of the list are. According to this indication, the second drawing node you've created is closer to the foreground than the other nodes, which corresponds to what you just experienced while moving the new node around. Now, whilst still in the node menu, press and hold space. At the same time, click on the icon of your second drawing, hold it up and move it up the list. Once it's moved up, release the mouse click and stop pressing space. Now that the order of the list has changed and your second design is positioned near the background side of the arrow, go back to your second drawing node and try moving it again. You'll notice that this time the node is behind the first node, just like indicated by the order of the nodes in the list. Next, go back to Root and create a new group by clicking on the Create Group button. Give this group a name. You can then notice that the name of the group you just created is displayed in the top left corner of the screen, which means that you are in this group. Now, let's create a text in this new group by clicking on the Create Text button. Again, we need to choose a name for the node. Once inside the text node, on the left, you will find the sliders allowing you to adjust the size and color of the text you are going to write. A preview is displayed at the bottom right of the menu. Once you have made the settings you want, click on the Add Text button and enter the line of text that you wish to write. The node menu will automatically close and the text you have written will be displayed on the current scene and follow your mouse cursor. At this point, you can still use the up and down arrow on your keyboard to change the size of the text. Move your mouse cursor to decide where to place the text and then click the screen to validate. You can then click Add Text again to add new lines of text. By clicking Z, you can delete the last line of text that you've added. To summarize, at this point, the root node contains two drawings and a group that itself contains a text node. You can check by navigating through the nodes as we learned. Now let's try to put one of the two drawings we created into the group that contains the text node. To do that, hold space and pick one of the drawing nodes as if you wanted to change its order in the list as we learned before. Move the picked node over the group node and release the mouse click, and then the selected node should disappear. You can then verify that it is now listed in the group you dropped it in. Now that you are in the group you created, try moving the current node, changing its zoom, or rotating it. You may notice that all the nodes you've just put in the group, that is to say the drawing and the text, undergo simultaneously the transformation that you apply to the group. This is the feature that makes the group nodes so convenient. They allow you to apply transformations to all the nodes in them, which enables the possibility to create things like articulations, for instance. If you want to move a node out of a group, go inside the node in question and click the Move Upward button. You will see that the node is no longer in the group that previously contained it. Now, let's see how to create clones of nodes. For our example, we will try to copy the groups that we just created and its content. To do this, first go inside the node you wish to copy. It's our group. Then click on the copy button in the node editor or press the C key. A message at the top right of the screen will appear, indicating that the current node is being copied. You must then select the location where you want to clone the copied node. This destination cannot be the copied node itself or any of the nodes it contains. So go back to root and then press the paste button or press the V key. Then look at the last item in the root list, and this is a clone of the object you copied. Click on this new node to go inside and try moving it to see that it is a duplicate of the node you copied. If you want to delete a node, go inside the node you wish to delete and click the delete button in the nodes menu. Please note that if the deleted node is a group, then all the nodes in the group will be deleted as well. When your animation contains many nodes, it can be difficult to remember which node corresponds to which element in the current scene. The solution to this issue is to go in the current scene and hold down the S key. The content corresponding to the current node will start to oscillate between white and black. Also, because nodes in a group undergo transformations and may be hidden by other nodes, it can be difficult to draw or to add text under these conditions. To draw in a drawing node without having to worry about all of this, you can click the Hide Structure button at the bottom left of the node menu when you are in drawing mode or when you are in the text node. For drawing nodes, this temporarily cancels all the transformations, and for both drawing and text nodes, it hides the other nodes until you are finished drawing or writing. When the list of nodes in the group is long, a slider appears next to it to navigate through the list. You can also navigate through the list with your mouse wheel by hovering over the lists. Finally, the last feature of the node menu is the Rename Node button, which allows you to give a new name to the current node. Now that you've understood all the features of the node menu, we're going to really start creating an animation using the time menu. At the moment, when you go to the current scene, the name of the selected node is displayed at the top left, and next to it is marked time 0. This means that what is displayed on the screen corresponds to what will be displayed at time 0 of the animation. By default, anything you create or change in the node menu applies at the time that is selected and remains in the animation indefinitely if there are no further changes in the future. Find the slider and button in the time menu that are associated with the word step. This slider allows you to set the size of the time steps to 0.1 second, 1 second, or 10 seconds. Set the slider to select 1 second, and then click the plus step button 5 times to advance the time by 5 seconds. Exit the menu to display the current scene. Nothing seems to have changed except that the top left corner now says time 5. Now select the node of your choice and move it somewhere else in the current scene. Go back to the time menu and look at the freeze shown at the top part of the menu. You can see that at time 5, a green dot has appeared in the global line and another green dot has appeared in the offset line. If you place your mouse cursor over the point on the global line, the name of the node you have just moved is displayed. The freeze indicates that at time 5, the offset of the node has been changed. The green color indicates that this change corresponds to the node that is currently selected and to the time that is currently selected as well. The freeze can also be used to move through time. When you hover over it, a blue line and a number appear. Click somewhere in the timeline and you will be teleported in the corresponding time. Use the step minus button or the freeze to return to time 0. Make sure that the slider at the top of the time menu is set to speed 1 and then click the play from here button to the right of it. You are now in the editor's player and you can see your first animation. The node you chose starts from its initial position at time 0 and move to the indicated position at time 5 in 5 seconds. You can do further tests with other nodes and other properties such as angle, zoom, or color offset, for example. You can also add several successive changes to the same node. For example, go somewhere at time 5, then go somewhere else at time 7, then go somewhere else again at time 10. You can also try to hide an object at a given time and make it reappear at another time. To do this, select the times with the time menu and then use the hide or show button in the node menu. As you add changes in time, the time menu freeze become more complex. There are orange and purple dots. The orange dots indicate properties of the current node that are changed at a time other than the current time. The purple dots appear only in the global row and indicate that properties of other nodes are changed at the corresponding time. You can hover over these dots with your mouse to see which nodes are affected. Below the freeze, there is a plus and minus button that allow you to zoom in and out of the freeze. You can also use the mouse wheel to do the same thing when you hover over the freeze. Next to the plus and minus buttons, there is also a slider that allows you to move around the phrase. As you can see, the animations created with this project work with key points in time. When you change a property of a node at a given time, you create a key point for that node's property at that time. The program computes the intermediate parameter values between consecutive key points so that the values of the given parameter change smoothly from one key point to the next. Now, you might ask yourself how you can create a key point of a particular property at a given time without having to change its value. For example, you might want a node not to change its position from the time 3 to 8 and then change its position from time 8 to 10. To do this, there is a first way that requires you to do things in order. Start by placing the node where you want it at time 3. Then go to time 8 and in the time menu, click the Save Offset button. You have just created a key point for the node's position at time 8. Since the key point value of the offset at time 3 is the same as the key point value for the offset at time 8, the node will not change position in this time frame. You can then go to time 10 to make the node move from time 8 to time 10. But now, let's imagine that there is already an offset key point at the time 3 as well as the time 10. The program will calculate an intermediate position at time 8, which will not be equal to the position at time 3. To solve this problem, you can copy the key point of time 3 and paste it at time 8. To do this, you must first go to time 3. Then, you have to check that the time editor contains the button current only and saved only. If instead you see the buttons whole branch or all properties, you have to click on them to change what is displayed. Once it's done, click on the copy button in the time menu or press the C key. A message appears in the menu indicating what you have copied. You can then go to time 8 and press the paste button on the time menu or click the V key. This will copy the key points from the node copied at time 3 to the same node at time 8. There are a few things to note about the copying and pasting of key points. First, you cannot copy properties from one node and paste them into another node. The current only and saved only buttons are used to define the type of copy and paste to be performed. If a button displays saved only, it means that only the key point will be copied. If the button instead shows all properties, then the values of all properties in the node will be copied even if they are not current key points. If a button displays current only, it means that only the properties of the current node are considered. If the button instead displays whole branch and the selected node is a group, then the properties of the node inside the group will also be considered. You can combine the alternatives of these two buttons to create multiple copy-paste variants. When you go to a point in time where key points from the current node are saved, the Save buttons for the currently saved properties are replaced by the red Delete buttons.
You can use them to remove key points. Also, be aware that the Save and Remove buttons are affected by the orange property.
You can shift all key points of all nodes on all properties that are located after the selected time at once. To do this, use the Shift plus and Shift minus buttons. The shift duration is determined by the step slider. When you create a node in the nodes menu at a time other than 0, the node is hidden by default at time 0 and remains hidden until the time of creation. If you press the Play from Here button in the time menu and select a time other than 0 or a speed other than 1, the animation will start without sound, but you will be able to change the time during the animation by clicking on the progress bar that appears when you move the mouse. The thumbnail of the animation is automatically modified as soon as a node is created or deleted. The Set Thumbnail button in the time menu allows you to choose the current moment as the animation's thumbnail. In the same way, the Set Name button in the time menu allows you to define the name of the animation. Now, you theoretically know pretty much everything that you need to know in order to create animations with this project. However, becoming comfortable with the editor will take a little practice. Do not hesitate to try things with this project and to share the results as a remix. I will be very glad to review it and to give feedback. If you have a question about the use of the editor and you can't find the answer in this tutorial, don't hesitate to ask me on my profile so I can help you. Also, if you have any suggestion on how to better explain the use of the editor, feel free to contact me or to make your own tutorial. Before leaving, I will give a few pieces of advice in order to avoid unfortunate situations caused by latency, glitches, and bad handling. To avoid the project being too slow, don't have too many browser tabs opened at the same time. If you use the project with the Scratch editor opened, the project may be very slow. When you have opened the Scratch editor of the project and you want to go back to full screen mode, remember to go back to the normal page first, otherwise the project might be very slow to run. Otherwise, if you want to stay on the Scratch editor page before going to full screen mode, go to the stage code first. By experience, going in full screen mode while being in the code section of the paint sprite will slow down the project execution. You can stop the project and click on the green flag again to restart the project without deleting what you have done, but be careful not to do this when there is an action in progress, for example a drawing that is not finished or cloning in progress, for instance. In any case, do not refresh your project page or your change will disappear. If you have used the project and you want to save your changes, the Scratch editor may not offer to save the project because you have not modified the project code itself. In this case, just move a block of the project without changing the structure, and the save option will appear. Remember that this animation maker is just a Scratch project and not a professional editing software. It will be possible that there are bugs that I was not able to detect. Also, when using the project, you might accidentally make some bad manipulation, deleting an important node, for example. Therefore, if you work on an animation for a long time, consider saving a backup of your project from time to time. To do this, go to the editor, click on File, and then Save to your computer. In case of problems, you will thus be able to retrieve your backup by clicking on File and then Load from your computer. Thank you for following this tutorial until the end. I hope that this will help you to create wonderful pen animations. I can't wait to discover your creations, so see you soon on Scratch!